Good morning, Good Shepherd flock. Father Edwin here, coming to you from the study at the vicarage in lovely downtown Covington, Georgia. The sun is quite bright already today. I think that lovely mild weather with clouds that we've had the last couple days is behind us, and the hot summer is back. I recorded something for you yesterday, and it ended up being like 23 minutes. I decided too long, and so here's the shorter version of check-in and update. And I digress, do I not? It's good to be back with you, such as that is, in this strange time. Over 10 days now since my two-week vacation is over. 2 Sundays in the rear view. But I did want to just share that time away was just lovely, both the staycation part, where I was able to get back out in the yard and help Laura a little bit, begin to help Laura a little bit. The wrist is doing well, thanks be to God. Still hurts a little bit when you do that, or when you do that especially, but I'm supposed to be doing that to get the flexibility back. There was also a bit of time away in coastal South Carolina. That was just lovely, in part because the weather was so fantastic and so mild for the time of year, it seems like. But then I'm probably just not used to being at the coast of South Carolina in June as opposed to late July and August, like when I was growing up. Also, Beaufort was the area where we were, and it had been 30 years since I had spent any significant amount of time in and around Beaufort, and what that reminded me of was spring break, senior year of college. I found myself down there with a buddy in my new camper van, 10 years old, new to me, Volkswagen camper van on the first big camping trip, and found myself in the Ash Wednesday service in the middle of that spring break week of 1990. I found myself strangely moved by this beautiful, stark, and powerful Ash Wednesday service there in St. Helena's Parish, the old parish from the 18th century, from the mid-1700s there in Beaufort. And that was the real beginning of my path to being an Episcopalian and thus to being a priest. So it was really neat to be back there and to remember that the role that place had played in my life. The sunsets also, rivaling the beautiful sunsets we have here in Covington, Georgia, I have to say. Since then, it's been good. Just busy with the flexible sort of days that still get to enjoy because we're not spending that time in the office together as a staff. There's the yard work, and the honey-do list is constant, and that's good. It gets me outside with Laura, who continues her incredibly energetic work around in all sides of the house, with the formal garden that she's working on right out back here, all the new plantings, the new beds in the front after the trees came down, all these things. So that's been really good to have that kind of flex time and be out there helping her and just enjoying working outside. That said, of course, the great crazy hailstorm of June 2020, destroyed our garden, our vegetable garden, and put a hurting on many of those plants that we had just gotten put out and so forth. So we'll see how many of them survive. But what a crazy, crazy thing. Hail piled up 6 inches deep up against our back doors and pounding against our windows. I've been trying to read a little bit more for pleasure. Surprise, surprise, the South Carolina boy picked up a Pat Conroy novel at the beginning of vacation, only to discover that the one he chose was partially set right there in and around Beaufort and St. Helena's Island, South Carolina. So that's been really, really good. Of course, I'm only 3/4 of the way done after 3+ weeks, but that's how it goes with me and novels. In terms of church work, there believe it or not, there's still plenty to do, if not more. Sometimes it's hard to sort of put your finger on it. I've had webinars ongoing. There's all kinds of good stuff being produced out there around the church in this wilderness time, as one webinar I'm taken part in has put it. So I've done a couple of different things. There was a preaching conference just before vacation, online, of course. There's a webinar on the church in wilderness time, as I said, that the Episcopal Church and some others are putting on. Our vestry and other ministry leaders next week are going to do 2 1-hour sessions on servant leadership in a time of crisis. It may not feel like a crisis to you right now, and maybe it doesn't so much to me in the sense of, well, the world is opening back up or moving around a good bit more, after the governor's orders have all expired. And yet, as you well know, the church hasn't regathered as a whole anyway. All the churches haven't regathered. Some of the ones that have run into trouble with the virus. And so still very much a wilderness time. And of course, our country continues to undergo all kinds of traumatic and difficult things in the meantime. So I've been trying to, how should we say, sort of do the study things and the reading and that I need to be doing to keep on top of these things and be better able to help you and help us as a good shepherd as we go forward. Same with your vestry and leadership as we sit down with our friend Martin Darby, who many of you may remember, as we sit down with him next week to talk about servant leadership in this unique time. The daily office, that is the prayers of the prayer book, especially morning prayer, continue to sort of anchor my day, especially on those Monday through Thursdays when I'm doing it live on Facebook and having usually at least 3, sometimes 10, up to 10 people join us. We've developed a nice group of regulars who are part of that morning prayer at 8:30 on Monday mornings on our Good Shepherd Facebook page. And then we have others come and go, and it's just lovely. It's just lovely. As with all Episcopal prayer, believe it or not, it's not just structured that we read off the page. Just like on Sunday, there's that long pause. In this case, it can take several minutes for us to pause, see what's on our hearts and minds that we want to lift up to God. And so we have that time of intercession for others, offering our thanksgivings and praying for ourselves if we need to, asking for prayer for ourselves. So morning prayer is that one of those things that's really anchored my life, going all the way back to St. Patrick's Day in this wilderness time. Let's see. I did attend one of the 2 demonstrations that have taken place on the Covington Square in the last, 3 weeks or so. I got to the one that was on a Saturday evening, just before 2 Sundays ago, and found it quite powerful and quite uplifting. There's how to describe. I guess you have your own words for it. As we all are trying to interpret what we're hearing and seeing around our country these days, I think it's important that we're returning to once again to face the racism that has been endemic to our American culture from the very beginning, and then trying to take additional steps to face it, to confess it, and to overcome it with justice and with mercy and with peace. And so that's the kind of thing that I felt as I participated there on the square 2 Saturdays ago. There's another demonstration this evening, 5:30, organized by one of the same folks who did the first one, which I had heard really good reviews about. And join me. I'm planning to be there, socially distanced as best as I can with my mask on, as should you be if you come. And that's, of course, the way I found the other ones have been as well. People taking precautions and trying to be safe. Come and join me, and if you'd like, and let's raise our voices to against racism, and particularly in this Juneteenth, in support of our black brothers and sisters in our community. And let's raise our voices for mercy and justice and peace. If you're not the demonstrating type, the marching type, that's quite all right. There's plenty that you can do on your own in terms of raising your voice, and that may be just reaching out to friends that you already have, and letting them know that they have your support, letting them know that you love them. Let's see. There are other ways, of course, that we have been trying to help in this community as Jesus followers gathered at Good Shepherd, gathered with our Christian brothers and sisters in the community. We try to get those out on the e-news email every week. Try to refresh them based on what we're hearing from Action Ministries, from Repairs of the Breach, as a couple of our friends help try to keep us connected with them, with the Covington United Food Pantry, and this kind of thing. Please pay attention to those opportunities. There may even yet be one coming that will help us, that will sort of facilitate us making sandwiches in our homes. If you've been a sandwich maker before, or if you're looking for something fun to do with your kids, look for an upcoming opportunity to make sandwiches at home, and then to get those out for the YMCA to help distribute. All right. Let's see. I'm trying my best to keep up with how you're doing. I feel like I would like to know more. I'm trying to call a couple of you every day, but that doesn't, given the numbers we're talking about here, that doesn't ever feel like enough. And of course, I'm in email contact with vestry, with other ministry leaders, etc. regularly, but it never quite feels like enough. So let me know how you're doing if we haven't talked or connected in some time. I hope you're healthy. Like I've said before, we've been amazingly healthy as a parish so far since the virus arrived in our community, and it seems to be ongoing for us, which is a blessing. I hope you're still being safe as you move about more out in the world, wearing your mask, keeping your distance, washing your hands, not touching your face, all these things. Do be careful. If you look at the charts, the AJC I think does a good job of updating their data every day. They're trying to take into account some of the funkiness of the way things have been reported in the past. But what the data I'm seeing there shows that we're on the rise again in Georgia, as in other states that have opened up more fully. So be careful. Be careful. The virus is still out there. It's as dangerous as it ever has been for those who catch it, and so we all need to continue to be careful. Let's see. In terms of staying connected, I wanted to mention our Zoom rooms. Those are phasing out as we speak. It's hard to tell. Those of us who were able to participate, and I wasn't there always myself. I didn't want to intrude on everybody's gatherings, but we had a smaller numbers than we expected to begin with, based on the initial expressed interest after Beth put out the call. We had close to 15, 16, 18 people express interest, and just a handful participate. So those are phasing out. But I guess what I want to say is we still want to know what you need in terms of connection and support. We still need to be and remain connected as a parish. We still need to be in prayer for each other. We still need to be doing our devotions. We still need to be thinking about how we can support one another in our pilgrimage as Christ followers. So all that's to say, perhaps, is that I don't see our online connections like that going away altogether. I think we need to keep thinking about what are the ways that we can draw each other, that we can come together from our distant spots, from where we sit and where we live, and from where we work, when we're not gathering as much at the church. So be thinking. about what you would like. Do we need to do a parish-wide book study? Do we need a Bible study? What other things might we try? I think that as the Zoom rooms are not going well together, we'll just keep thinking about new ways that we can connect online like that. All right? I'm sure you're all wondering about Regathering, and that's been on our minds, I'm sure, for many weeks, as it certainly has on mine. I've had a hard time sort of settling into all this. It still feels very temporary for me. I can't even fully sort of settle into a home office. I've started to go back and forth to the cottage office some now. Here's the deal. We did hear from the bishop and staff this past Wednesday. At our regular Wednesday meeting, the clergy were the first to hear about the Phase 1 regathering guidelines, the Phase 1 regathering guidelines that the bishop and staff have put out for us. That is, beginning Sunday, July the 5th, we have permission to regather in the church. Now, before you take that too far, know that we have a team already in place, led by Penny Kehoe on behalf of the vestry, who are going to be studying these guidelines and taking them and trying to put together a plan for Good Shepherd. The guidelines are pretty stringent. They're pretty stringent. We're talking about cleaning. We're talking about mask wearing. We're talking about registering ahead of time, or at least, at the very least, as you walk in the door for services. We're talking about spacing, of course, in the church. A certain number of people per square footage, with a maximum cap on that number. Outdoors is possible. Outdoors is a possible thing. I guess it's an open question as to whether we have the right space outdoors at Good Shepherd to try and meet outdoors. No Holy Communion yet, which was a hard one for myself and many clergy to hear on Wednesday. No singing yet, also a hard one to hear for many of us. So if it's starting to sound like a lot of things, a lot of hoops to jump through to gather, it is. And so our committee, our little team, will be helping us sort through all that and see what it might look like for us at Good Shepherd to implement Sunday worship gathering like that, and then see if and when we want to try it. So hang on, know that it's being worked on. Pray for Penny and her team. Pray for the vestry as we try to sort through this in the next couple of weeks. Be ready to take a survey if the team gets out the survey that they're thinking about. I think that could be very helpful for us to know how you're feeling. Okay, that's all for the moment. Again, let's continue to stay in touch. Let's continue to think about ways that we can be of service to the Christ and others all around our communities, in our everyday stuff, whether we're retired, whether we're back at work, whether we're young in high school or middle school, you name it. Let's continue to remember that we're on a pilgrimage of following this Jesus, and that means that we try to maintain our commitments, even though we're not able to have that Sunday gathering focus yet. Maybe it's coming fairly soon. But even when it does, it won't be the same world we were in before St. Patrick's Day. It'll be a new world, and we'll continue to live into it and do our best. And that's how this flock will remain faithful. And I thank you for all the faithfulness that you've shown already, and for all the good work that you're doing in your everyday lives out there. Peace, everybody. Blessings. See you.